The weather was perfect. The sky looked like a masterpiece painted by an artist, a mesmerizing canvas where purple and orange blended seamlessly. The mountain peaks were bathed in golden light, while the wind whispered through the trees. "Ethan." Carter adjusted his backpack slightly and took a deep breath. This is exactly why I'm here. The peace, the raw beauty of the wilderness, and of course, the passion for capturing that perfect moment. But that sense of peace was suddenly replaced by an odd feeling. Someone, or something, was watching him. He could feel it. Slowly, he lifted his head. And there it was, the eagle. Massive, majestic, almost mythical. Its feathers were a stunning blend of brown and gold, shifting in the light. Its broad wings stretched out, embracing the sky, but the most striking feature was its eyes. Those eyes! They weren't like any ordinary animals. It looked so wise, Ethan thought, as if it had been here for centuries, watching over this land long before anything else. He held his breath for a moment. He had to capture this, right now. He quickly reached for his bag, pulled out his camera. Carefully he cleaned the lens, adjusted the settings. But something felt off. The eagle was still staring at him. And that gaze, it felt like a warning. A voice echoed inside Ethan's head. "Don't do it." But logic kicked in. "Don't be ridiculous, Ethan. It's just an eagle. I've been in the wild for years. This kind of opportunity may never come again." He pressed his eye to the viewfinder, finger hovering over the shutter button. But right at that moment, he saw a spark in the eagle's eyes. And then, the wind suddenly changed direction. A shiver ran down his spine. Something feels off, but I don't know why. Then, his foot slipped, and he fell into the void. The air went still. It was as if the world had suddenly fallen into silence. Time seemed to freeze, but Ethan was falling. The sky rushed upward, the jagged ground racing toward him like a predator ready to devour its prey. His heart pounded so hard it felt like it might shatter his chest. Free fall. For the first few seconds he felt nothing, just emptiness, just the dark, bottomless abyss of the cliff below. Then, "Wait!" His body was suddenly yanked downward, as if an invisible force had strapped a ton of bricks to his back. His stomach lurched into his throat. The only command in his brain was survival. But how? His hands flailed wildly through the air. Instinctively he searched for something, anything, to grab onto, but this wasn't a building. This wasn't a bridge. There were no railings here. Here, there was only emptiness, and the void was merciless. His mind screamed, "No, no, no! This can't be happening! I won't die like this! Not yet!" He tried to gather his thoughts, a plan, an escape, but nothing came to mind. For the first time, he was truly, utterly helpless. The wind roared in his ears. It drowned out every other sound, whispering like death itself. Then his eyes locked onto the jagged rocks below. If he hit them, every bone in his body would shatter. Survival? Impossible. This wasn't the kind of death he had imagined. I don't even have my camera in hand. I didn't even take the shot. This isn't how it was supposed to happen, but fate didn't care about his plans. Just as he was about to close his eyes, a shadow sliced through the sky, silent, sharp, moving with lethal precision, and Ethan's eyes widened in disbelief. The eagle? But this couldn't be a coincidence. This wasn't just chance. The eagle was diving to save him. Ethan's heart nearly exploded in his chest. Is this real? Am I hallucinating? But no. The eagle was right in front of him now. Its wings stretched wide, talons extended. And its target, Ethan's backpack. Boom! A sudden, brutal jolt. Razor-sharp talons clamped onto his backpack. Ethan's shoulders wrenched backward. His speed slowed. But he didn't stop. Two forces clashed. Gravity fought to pull him down. But the eagle refused to let go. Its Talons locked tight, muscles tensed, wings flapped with raw power, and for a moment, Ethan hung in midair. His entire weight rested on the eagle's strength, and the eagle was determined to carry him. Ethan's mind went blank. Only one thought remained: a bird is carrying me. Ethan couldn't breathe. The only thing keeping him from plummeting was the crushing grip of sharp talons clamped onto his backpack. Was he still falling, or was he flying? His brain struggled to process what was happening, but his chest rose and fell rapidly. He was alive. For now. The wind slapped against his face. The freezing air lashed at his skin like a blade. The fall had stopped, but what did that even mean? Was the eagle really trying to save him, or was this just some primal instinct of survival? Ethan's eyes darted upward in fear. The eagle flapped its massive wings with powerful strokes. Its muscular body strained with each movement, lifting them higher. But was this even possible? Can an eagle really carry me? Logic screamed that it was impossible. And yet, here he was, defying gravity. An eagle shouldn't be able to lift something several times its own weight, but this wasn't just any eagle. This was that eagle. Ethan could feel the talons digging into his backpack. The sharp tips nearly pierced his shoulders, but he was grateful for them, because he was still alive. But for how much longer? The eagle fought to rise, but the wind was against it, and then Ethan realized he was too heavy. The eagle was flapping with everything it had, but it was struggling, its wings stretched tight, muscles trembling under the strain. For a brief moment, it stopped flapping, and they both dropped several meters. Ethan's stomach lurched. No, don't stop. But the eagle pushed forward again, up, higher, just a little higher. It kept climbing. But Ethan understood something now. The eagle couldn't keep this up. Eventually, it would either collapse from exhaustion or be forced to let him go. Ethan screamed inside his head, "I have to do something." But how? What could he do? He couldn't hold on. He couldn't move. And worst of all, the eagle might not have a choice but to drop him, and at that moment, he looked down. He swallowed hard. Below him, there was only one thing: rocks, jagged, deadly, unforgiving. And then he saw something else. Just beyond the rocks, trees, dense, thick, sturdy trees. And Ethan realized something. If he had any chance at all, the eagle might be able to give him one final push and send him toward the trees. Maybe he could grab onto something. Maybe he could survive. But to do that, he had to let something go. His backpack. I have to do this. His breath quickened. Fear wrapped around his bones like ice. But if he got rid of the backpack, the eagle could redirect him toward the trees. Maybe he could grab onto a branch. Maybe he wouldn't die. But what if he messed up? What if he missed, as 1,000 possibilities stormed through his mind? The eagle suddenly shifted, and once again Ethan plunged downward. Ethan's fingers clutched the strap of his backpack tightly. The only thought echoing in his mind was, if I let go, will I die? But if I don't, I definitely will. The eagle flapped its wings with wild power. But Ethan could feel it. It was reaching its limit. The talons were still locked onto his backpack, but any second it could give up. And then he realized something. The eagle wasn't climbing anymore. In fact, it was slowly descending, but with purpose. It's taking me somewhere. A spark ignited in Ethan's mind, and he looked down. Beyond the rocks lay a dense forest, thick, sturdy branches, soft leaves, and maybe a chance to survive, but at this weight they wouldn't make it there. He had to drop the backpack. His hands reached for the buckle, but he hesitated. That backpack was a part of his life. His camera was in there, his equipment, his travel logs, his journal, his entire world. But this was a choice: the backpack or his life. His breath caught in his throat. One last time he looked up and locked eyes with the eagle. deep, sharp, judging eyes, but at the same time, eyes that told him something, as if they were saying, "Make your choice." Without a second thought, Ethan unbuckled the strap and let go. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the eagle's talons released, the weight disappeared, and for one fleeting second, Ethan felt like he was truly flying. But then, he started dropping fast. Did the eagle let him go? No, this was part of the plan. The forest rushed toward him. His eyes scanned the branches, searching for the safest spot. There, thick leaves, strong but flexible branches. That's where I need to land. He took one last breath, spread his arms, and BAM! The first impact slammed against his back. Air ripped from his lungs. The second impact smashed into his arm. Pain. The third whipped against his leg, and then he crashed into something soft. Leaves, dirt, the ground, and he was still alive, eyes open, heart pounding. And when he looked up, he saw the eagle, gliding above, wings spread wide, watching him. For a single moment, they just stared at each other, and inside, Ethan whispered, "Thank you." The eagle gave one final flap of its wings and vanished. Ethan, gasping for breath, but alive, and for the first time, he truly felt like he was a part of nature. Ethan felt the cold, damp earth in his palms. His lungs burned. His heart pounded as if trying to break free from his chest. But he was alive, truly alive. He opened his eyes. The sky had turned into a canvas of deep navy and fiery orange. The wind whispered through the leaves, making them dance. And right above him, it was there. The eagle, its massive wings spread wide, soared silently through the sky. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. This couldn't be a coincidence. This was a miracle. He pressed his hands into the ground and tried to push himself up. His entire body trembled. His muscles rebelled. The blows to his back felt like the weight of a boulder, but he managed to kneel. He lifted his gaze once more. The eagle was still there, but not for long. It flapped its wings again, and slowly began to drift away. "No!" Ethan screamed in his mind. He didn't want it to leave. This creature had pulled him back from the edge of death. From the depths of an abyss, it had delivered him back into the arms of life. And now, was it leaving? Ethan, his arms still shaking, pushed himself to his feet. His knees were weak, but he took a step, then another, and he followed the eagle into the forest. His mind swirled with questions. How did this happen? Would an eagle really save a human? Was this just nature playing a trick on me? But one question burned deeper than the rest. Why me? The eagle moved toward a clearing beyond the trees. Ethan followed. His steps were unsteady, his breath ragged, but he wouldn't stop, because he knew this wasn't just a story of survival. This was the greatest lesson of his life. After a few minutes, he reached an open space, and there he saw it. The eagle, perched on a large rock, chest held high, staring straight at him. Without thinking, Ethan dropped to his knees. This wasn't a display of weakness. It was gratitude. The eagle tilted its head slightly, and in that moment, their eyes met. That's when Ethan realized something. This creature was a fierce predator of the wild, but it was also his protector. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Silence. Only the wind whispered around them. Ethan murmured under his breath, "Why did you save me?" Of course, there was no answer, just a look, a farewell, and then the eagle spread its wings once more, massive, majestic, free, with a final, powerful beat. It soared into the sky. Ethan held his breath. His eyes followed it. As the eagle ascended, it passed over him one last time. In that instant, driven by pure instinct, Ethan raised his hand, and for a brief moment, it was as if the eagle acknowledged him, widening its wings, as if in a final salute. And then it was gone. Ethan remained still for a long time. He took a deep breath. The air that filled his lungs was the most precious breath he had ever taken, because this wasn't just oxygen. This was a second chance. And now, he knew he would never be the same, because sometimes life sends us a pair of wings to carry us forward, but it is up to us to see them and to understand.